everyone, it's Alex here. I just want to thank you all so much for the support, the energy.
To the neck, but now I'm trophied up. I'm saying like bing, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam.
Breaking. Tennis mom goes full legal nuclear. Alex, Eala's mother, declares war on haters with bombshell lawsuit. The world of professional tennis has always been sold to us as this elegant, pristine universe where athletes compete with grace under pressure, where the only drama comes from incredible rallies and championship points. The narrative is clean, the whites are bright, and everyone shakes hands at the net when it's all over. But that's the fantasy version, isn't it? The reality behind those baseline exchanges is far messier, far more brutal, and sometimes downright vicious. Today, that carefully maintained illusion has been obliterated, not by a controversial line call or a racket-smashing meltdown, but by something far more explosive, a mother's rage channeled into legal warfare. Welcome to Champions Tennisistics, the only place brave enough to bring you the stories that make the tennis establishment uncomfortable. If you're new here, you absolutely need to subscribe right now because we're diving into the kind of drama that the mainstream sports media won't touch with a 10-foot racket. And while you're at it, make sure you also subscribe to our brand new channel where we're bringing you even more exclusive tennis content that you simply cannot find anywhere else. We're building something special, and we want you to be part of this community from day one. Right now, the tennis world, particularly in the Philippines, Australia, and across Southeast Asia, is reeling from what can only be described as a thermonuclear declaration of war. Riza Eala, the powerhouse mother of Filipino tennis sensation Alexandra Alex Eala, has apparently had enough. The woman who spent decades navigating the cutthroat world of corporate finance, who represented her country as an elite athlete, who raised a daughter to become one of the brightest stars in Asian tennis, has decided that silence and dignity in the face of relentless attacks is no longer acceptable. According to explosive reports emerging from sources close to the family, Riza has allegedly declared her intention to pursue sweeping legal action against a specific list of individuals and potentially media outlets that she believes have orchestrated a systematic campaign to humiliate and destroy her daughter's reputation. The quote making the rounds through insider channels is absolutely chilling in its maternal ferocity. "I did not raise my daughter to be humiliated and trampled on like this." This isn't some throwaway comment made in frustration during a post-match interview. This isn't a vague social media complaint that will be forgotten by tomorrow morning. This is reportedly the opening salvo in what could become one of the most significant legal battles to hit professional tennis in years. Sources are suggesting that Riza Eala has already engaged one of Australia's most formidable defamation and privacy law firms, and that preliminary work on a formal legal filing is currently underway. The implications are staggering, and the targets should be absolutely terrified. To truly appreciate the magnitude of what's happening here, we need to understand the context and timing. It's late December 2025, and by all accounts, this should be the happiest moment of Alex Eala's young career. Just days ago, she achieved something that hadn't been done in 26 years. She captured the gold medal in women's singles tennis at the Southeast Asian Games in Thailand, bringing glory to the Philippines and ending a generation-long drought. It was a triumph that should have had the entire nation celebrating, a validation of every early morning training session, every sacrifice, every moment of doubt overcome. The Eala family should be basking in this achievement, taking a well-deserved breath before the grueling 2026 season kicks into high gear with the Australian Open in January. Instead, the atmosphere surrounding the family is reportedly tense, focused, and battle-ready. Why? Because in the perverse ecosystem of modern sports celebrity, success doesn't just breed admiration. It breeds contempt, jealousy, and apparently, coordinated attacks. As Alex's profile has risen, as she's climbed into the top 50 in the WTA rankings, as she's become not just a Filipino hero, but an Asian tennis icon, the volume and viciousness of criticism directed at her has reached levels that the family clearly believes have crossed from fair commentary into something far darker and more damaging. For years, the Eala camp has taken what many would consider the high road. They've ignored the keyboard warriors who dissect every fist pump and facial expression. looking for evidence of supposed attitude problems. They've brushed off the armchair experts who've never held a racket at a competitive level but feel qualified to tear apart her technique and strategy. They've remained silent in the face of media outlets that twist quotes, manufacture controversies, and use Alex's name as clickbait. It's a strategy rooted in Riza's own professional background. She's a former chief financial officer of Globe Telecom, one of the Philippines' largest corporations, a woman who earned recognition as one of Asia's top financial executives. She understands reputation management, crisis communication, and the value of controlled responses. But every person, no matter how disciplined or strategic, has a breaking point. It appears that breaking point has finally arrived. The use of the phrase humiliated and trampled on is particularly significant and revealing. This isn't language describing mere criticism or even harsh commentary. This suggests something far more personal, more systematic, and more destructive. We're likely looking at a situation where Riza believes there's been a coordinated narrative designed to undermine not just Alex's professional reputation, but her personal integrity and mental well-being. In professional tennis, reputation is everything. It determines sponsorship deals worth millions, influences tournament wildcard decisions, affects fan support, and ultimately impacts an athlete's ability to compete with confidence. If Riza has concluded that there's an orchestrated campaign to damage her daughter's brand, or worse, to break her spirit, then unleashing legal action isn't just justified, it's necessary. Now let's talk about this Australian legal connection, because this detail adds a fascinating and strategic dimension to the entire situation. Why Australia? Why engage a top-tier law firm thousands of miles from the Philippines? The answer lies in both timing and jurisdiction. The tennis world is about to converge on Melbourne for the Australian Open, the first Grand Slam of 2026 and one of the sport's biggest stages. By securing Australian legal representation now, Riza is sending multiple tactical messages simultaneously. First, she's establishing presence in a jurisdiction that will be the epicenter of tennis media attention in just weeks. Second, she's signaling that this isn't some idle threat or publicity stunt. This is serious preparation for serious action. Third, and perhaps most importantly, Australia has some of the strictest and most plaintiff-friendly defamation laws in the English-speaking world. Unlike the United States, where First Amendment protections make defamation cases notoriously difficult to win, Australian law places a much higher burden on defendants to prove the truth of their statements and often requires them to demonstrate that publication was in the public interest. If the individuals on Riza's alleged target list are operating within Australian jurisdiction, or if the media outlets publishing harmful narratives have any presence or distribution in Australia, they are potentially facing massive legal exposure. This isn't a jurisdiction where you can hide behind broad freedom of speech defenses or claim that outrageous commentary is protected opinion. Australian courts take reputation seriously, and damages can be substantial. Moreover, the choice of Australian legal counsel suggests that this campaign against Alex might not be limited to local trolls in Manila or jealous rivals in Southeast Asia. It hints at an international scope to the harassment. Are there international tennis commentators, bloggers, or figures within the tennis establishment who've made the catastrophic mistake of underestimating this family? The reports indicate that a specific list of individuals has been compiled and finalized. Just imagine the absolute panic that must be setting in right now among certain people who know they've been pushing boundaries, who've been testing how far they could go with their attacks, who perhaps assumed that Alex was just another young player who would absorb the abuse in silence. The realization that Riza Eala, a woman who navigated corporate boardroom battles and high-stakes financial negotiations for decades, has been methodically documenting every transgression must be keeping some people awake at night. We need to remember exactly who Riza Eala is, because understanding her background explains everything about how this situation is unfolding. She isn't some stage parent living vicariously through her child's athletic achievements. She isn't a former athlete who couldn't make it herself and is now pushing her daughter to fulfill her own broken dreams. Riza is a legitimate powerhouse in her own right with accomplishments that would be impressive in any field. She was a bronze medalist swimmer at the 1985 Southeast Asian Games, so she intimately understands the physical and mental demands of representing your country at the highest level. She knows what it means to train when you're exhausted, to compete when you're injured, to handle the pressure of national expectations. That athletic background gave her discipline and competitive fire, but it was her business career that gave her the strategic thinking and ruthless efficiency that's now being deployed in this legal campaign. Riza rose through the corporate ranks to become Chief Financial Officer of Globe Telecom, a telecommunications giant with billions in revenue and millions of customers. She didn't get that position by being nice or by backing down from fights. She earned accolades as one of the best financial executives not just in the Philippines, but in all of Asia. You don't reach that level of corporate success without being tough, meticulous, strategic, and absolutely relentless when protecting your interests. When she retired from Globe in late 2024 to support Alex's career full-time, many observers assumed she would simply be a supportive presence, handling logistics and providing emotional support. How spectacularly wrong that assumption has proven to be. Riza has transformed into the ultimate gatekeeper, the impenetrable shield around her daughter, and now, the sword being unsheathed to strike back at those who've crossed the line. This legal threat is actually a masterclass in modern crisis management and reputation defense. By strategically leaking the existence of the impending lawsuit and the list of targets, the Eala camp is firing what military strategists would call a warning shot across the bow. They're effectively telling all the detractors, critics, and rumor-mongers, stop now, cease immediately, or we will systematically destroy you in court, expose your behavior, and make you pay both financially and reputationally. It's a power move that completely changes the narrative. Instead of the story being Alex Eala faces criticism, the story becomes Alex Eala fights back against coordinated harassment. That shift is everything. It empowers Alex's massive and passionate fan base, who've grown increasingly frustrated watching their idol treated unfairly. It puts the media on notice that the Ealas are not passive victims. And it creates a chilling effect where people who might have joined the pylon are now reconsidering whether their comments could land them in legal jeopardy. But let's step back and analyze what could possibly be the specific nature of this alleged humiliation that's prompted such a nuclear response. What could have pushed a family known for grace and composure to this point? In recent months, despite her victories and rising rankings, Alex has faced intense and often unfair scrutiny from multiple directions. The drama at the Southeast Asian Games provides one clue. During her gold medal run, there were multiple controversial line calls that nearly derailed her matches. While Alex handled these moments with remarkable composure and professionalism, the online discourse around those matches turned absolutely toxic. Fans of rival nations flooded social media and tennis forums with accusations of bias, conspiracy theories about fixed matches, and personal attacks on Alex's character. Even more disturbingly, some misguided critics from her own country joined the pylon, questioning everything from her commitment to the national team to her coaching decisions. There have been persistent whispers and accusations floating through tennis circles questioning Alex's dedication, her physical conditioning, her mental toughness, and her worthiness of the resources and support she's received. These accusations are patently absurd when you look at the facts. She just won gold for her country. She's cracked the top 50 in the world while still in her early 20s. She's consistently competed at the highest levels despite limited resources compared to players from wealthier tennis nations. But in the echo chamber of social media and gossip-driven tennis forums, absurd accusations gain traction if they're repeated often enough and if they're left unchallenged. Lies become what everyone knows through sheer repetition. But there's also what we might call the Rafa Nadal Academy factor at play here. Alex's pedigree as a graduate of Rafael Nadal's prestigious academy in Spain puts an enormous target on her back. Critics love to compare her to Rafa himself, to Grand Slam champions, setting completely impossible standards for a developing player, and then mocking her when she inevitably experiences the normal ups and downs that every 20-year-old player goes through. It's a vicious cycle that we've seen destroy the confidence and careers of countless young prodigies. Naomi Osaka spoke openly about how public criticism and social media harassment contributed to her mental health struggles. Emma Raducanu went from U.S. Open champion to struggling with pressure and expectations almost overnight. Amanda Anisimova took a mental health break from tennis because the pressure became unbearable. Riza Eala is clearly looking at these cautionary tales and saying, absolutely not. Not my daughter. Not on my watch. This ends now. If this lawsuit proceeds to filing, we could see subpoenas issued for IP addresses of anonymous trolls, demands for full retractions and prominent apologies from media outlets, and potentially significant financial settlements. We might finally find out who exactly is on this mysterious list. Is it a rival coach who's been spreading rumors? A bitter former sponsor who felt slighted? A prominent tennis blogger who's built an audience on controversial takes? A journalist who's consistently crossed ethical lines? The speculation is absolutely running wild across Twitter, Reddit, and tennis forums. But smart observers are betting on individuals who've persistently crossed the line from fair criticism into actual defamation, statements that are provably false and demonstrably damaging. What's truly admirable and moving about this entire situation is the raw maternal fierceness at its core. In an era where momagers are often criticized for being too controlling, too fame-hungry, too willing to sacrifice their children's well-being for success and money, Riza Eala completely flips that script. She isn't pushing Alex into more spotlights or manufacturing drama for attention. She's trying to dim the harshest glares, to create space for her daughter to simply be human. She's fighting for Alex's fundamental right to be treated with basic dignity, to not be reduced to content for the outrage machine. That statement, "I did not raise my daughter to be humiliated," is a mantra that transcends tennis, transcends sports entirely. It resonates because it touches something primal and universal. It strips away all the glamour of the WTA Tour, all the prestige of Grand Slams, and reveals the raw, protective instinct of a mother who sees her child in pain and decides that enough is enough. As we wait for official confirmation of any legal filing, for announcements from law firms, for responses from potential targets, the atmosphere in the tennis world has undeniably shifted. People are quietly deleting tweets. Articles are being edited or removed. Social media posts are disappearing. The mere threat of Riza Eala's legal team has already begun to sanitize the landscape, creating a chilling effect where people are reconsidering their words. That is real power. That is what happens when you combine maternal instinct with corporate strategic thinking and elite legal representation. That's CFO energy brought to the tennis court, and it's absolutely terrifying for anyone who's been careless with their words. But this story is nowhere close to finished. In fact, we're only at the beginning of what could become one of the defining narratives of 2026. The Australian Open will now serve as the backdrop for this unfolding legal drama. Every match Alex plays will be scrutinized not just for winners and unforced errors, but for the meta-narrative surrounding it. Will the critics and haters back off, finally understanding there are real consequences? Or will they double down, convinced that any attention is good attention? Will we see Riza courtside with legal documents in hand, staring down the press box with that CFO intensity? The potential visuals are absolutely cinematic, and you can bet that every camera will be trained on the Eala family box. We also have to consider the impact on Alex herself, and whether she's actively involved in these legal decisions, or whether her mother is handling everything so Alex can maintain her focus purely on tennis. One would hope it's the latter, that there's a clear division of labor where Alex's only job is to train, compete, and win, while Riza handles all the external threats and distractions. If they can maintain that separation, this could actually be the strategic masterstroke that frees Alex to play the best tennis of her career. Imagine an Alex Eala who steps on court feeling completely protected, knowing that her mother has neutralized the external threats, knowing that the people who've been making her life miserable are now facing serious consequences. That's a player with nothing to lose and everything to gain. That's a dangerous competitor. That's a champion in the making, unshackled from the psychological burden that's been holding her back. This is the reality of modern professional sports, and we need to face it squarely. It's no longer just about the competition on the field or court. Success in sports now requires managing narratives, protecting brands, fighting legal battles in the shadows, and navigating a 24/7 media environment where everyone with a phone and internet connection considers themselves a qualified commentator. The Eala family has made the decision that they're done playing defense, done absorbing attacks, done taking the high road while their daughter suffers. They're switching to offense, and from everything we're hearing, They're aiming directly for the jugular. They're playing to win, and they have the resources, the expertise, and the determination to follow through. We will be monitoring every single development in this situation around the clock. As soon as any legal filing becomes public, as soon as we learn who's on that target list, as soon as there are responses from potential defendants, you will hear about it here first. We have sources in Melbourne and Manila, contacts in the legal world and the tennis establishment, and we're committed to bringing you the complete truth, not sanitized corporate press releases or safe mainstream coverage. So here's what I need you to do right now. If you stand with Eala, if you believe that athletes deserve to be treated with basic human dignity, if you think that mothers have every right to protect their daughters from coordinated harassment campaigns, absolutely smash that like button on this video. Let's show the algorithm that this kind of honest, fearless coverage matters. Let's send a message that we support athletes who fight back. And most importantly, if you haven't already, you need to subscribe to Champions Tennisitics immediately. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we are the only channel bringing you this level of depth, this level of insider access, and this level of unfiltered truth. We're not afraid to cover the stories that others won't touch. Don't miss the next update, because when this lawsuit officially drops and names are revealed, it's going to absolutely shake the tennis world to its foundations. Also, make sure you subscribe to our brand new channel where we're expanding our coverage and bringing you even more exclusive content. We're building something incredible, and we want you there from the beginning. Be part of this community of real tennis fans who care about the complete story, not just highlight reels. Comment below and let me know what you think. Do you believe Riza is absolutely right to pursue legal action? Or should public figures just accept hatred and attacks as part of the job, the price of fame? Should there be limits to criticism, or is everything fair game? I read every single comment, and I want to know where you stand on this. Until next time, keep your eye on the ball, stay locked into Champions Tennisitics, and watch out for the Eala family, because they are not playing games anymore. They're playing for keeps, and anyone who underestimated them is about to learn a very expensive lesson.